Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're embarking on a journey back in time, over 2,500 years ago, to uncover the story of a man whose teachings have inspired millions across the globe. We've all seen the serene statues and heard the name, but who was the Buddha, really? Was he a god? A mythical figure? The answer might surprise you. He was a man, born a prince, who walked away from a life of unimaginable luxury to find the answers to life's deepest questions. This is the incredible story of Siddhartha Gautama, the man who became the Buddha. Our story begins around the 5th century BC in a small kingdom called Kapilavastu, located in what is now modern-day Nepal. Here, a queen named Maya gave birth to a son, Siddhartha Gautama. His father, King Siddhodana, was overjoyed. Soothsayers and wise men predicted that the boy was destined for greatness. They told the king he would either become a mighty ruler who would conquer the world, or he would become a great spiritual teacher, a fully enlightened one. King Suddhodana, wanting his son to follow in his footsteps and become a powerful king, decided to shield him from the harsh realities of the world. He wanted to ensure Siddhartha never encountered anything that might lead him down a spiritual path. So Siddhartha grew up in a palace that was more like a golden cage. He was surrounded by every imaginable pleasure. Beautiful gardens, fine silks, delicious food, music, and entertainment. He was educated in the arts and sciences, trained in archery and swordsmanship, and eventually married a beautiful princess named Yashodhara, with whom he had a son, Rahu. From the outside, he had a perfect life. A life of absolute comfort and privilege, completely untouched by the suffering of the world. But even a palace can't keep curiosity locked away forever. As Siddhartha grew into a young man, a deep restlessness began to stir within him. He wanted to see the world beyond his palace walls. He asked his charioteer, Chuna, to take him into the city. Despite his father's reluctance, the king eventually agreed, but only after ordering his officials to clear the streets of anyone old, sick, or suffering. He wanted his son's first glimpse of the world to be as perfect as his palace life. But destiny had other plans. During his excursions, Siddhartha had 4 encounters that would change his life, and the course of history, forever. These are known as the 4 sights. On his first trip, despite the king's efforts, he saw an old man, frail and bent with age. Siddhartha, who had never seen old age before, was deeply shaken. He asked Chuna, "Will I to become like this? Will Yasodhara and everyone I love?" Chuna could only reply, "Yes, my lord." Old age is the fate of all living beings. On his second trip, he saw a sick person lying by the roadside, moaning in pain. Again, Siddhartha was confronted with a form of human suffering he had never known. He realized that health is not permanent, and that anyone can fall ill. The third sight was perhaps the most shocking of all. He saw a funeral procession, with mourners weeping as they carried a lifeless body. For the first time, Siddhartha confronted the reality of death, the realization that life is finite, and that everyone he knew and loved would one day die, struck him to the core. These first 3 sights filled him with a profound sense of existential angst. The pleasures of his palace now seemed hollow and meaningless in the face of old age, sickness, and death. Then came the 4th and final sight. Siddhartha saw a wandering ascetic, a holy man who had renounced all worldly possessions. The man was calm, serene, and had a look of deep peace on his face, despite having nothing. Siddhartha was fascinated. He saw in this man a different path, a possible way to find an answer to the suffering he had just witnessed. He realized that if there was a way out of suffering, it wasn't through accumulating more pleasure, but through seeking a deeper truth. This was the turning point. At the age of 29, Siddhartha made a momentous decision. It's now known as the Great Renunciation. One night, while his family slept, he said a silent goodbye to his wife and son, left his palace, his crown, and his princely life behind. He traded his fine robes for the simple cloth of an ascetic and set out into the world with nothing, on a quest to understand the nature of suffering and find a way to end it. For the next 6 years, Siddhartha wandered through the forests and villages of India, Seeking wisdom, he studied with the most renowned meditation masters of his time, learning to discipline his mind and achieve deep states of concentration. But while these states were blissful, they were temporary. They didn't provide the ultimate answer he was looking for. He then joined a group of 5 ascetics who practiced extreme self-mortification. They believed that by punishing the body, they could liberate the spirit. Siddhartha took this practice to its very limit. He ate so little that his ribs stuck out. He slept on a bed of thorns, and he endured extreme heat and cold. He pushed his body to the brink of death, becoming little more than a living skeleton. Yet, after 6 years of this grueling ordeal, he realized that this path, too, was a dead end. Weakening the body did not lead to a stronger mind or deeper insight. It only clouded his judgment and brought him closer to death, not enlightenment. He understood that both extremes, the life of sensual indulgence he had lived in the palace, and the life of severe self-denial he had just practiced, were flawed. The true path, he reasoned, must lie somewhere in between. This realization led him to formulate one of his key teachings, the middle way. It's a path of moderation, avoiding both extremes of self-indulgence and self-mortification. Having abandoned extreme asceticism, Siddhartha accepted a simple meal of rice and milk from a village girl named Su. Her act of kindness restored his strength. He then found a quiet spot under a large Bodhi tree in a place now known as Bodh Gaya. He sat down, facing east, and made a powerful vow. I will not rise from this spot until I have found the supreme and final truth, even if my skin, my nerves, and my bones should waste away, and my flesh and blood dry up. As he sat in deep meditation throughout the night, he was said to have been assailed by Mara, a figure representing temptation, distraction, and the ego. Mara tried to lure him away with promises of power and pleasure, and then tried to frighten him with armies of demons. But Siddhartha remained unmoved, his concentration unwavering. He touched the earth with his hand, calling the earth itself to bear witness to his right to be there, and Mara was defeated. As the morning star rose in the sky, a profound clarity dawned in his mind. He saw his past lives, understood the universal law of karma, the law of cause and effect, and finally, he understood the root cause of all suffering and the way to its cessation. In that moment, he transcended human limitations and achieved a state of perfect wisdom and compassion. He was no longer just Siddhartha the prince. He was the Buddha, which means the awakened one. What did he discover? The core of his enlightenment is captured in the 4 noble truths. First, the truth of suffering, or dukkha. Life inevitably involves suffering, dissatisfaction, and stress. Second, the truth of the origin of suffering. This suffering arises from craving, desire, and attachment to things that are impermanent. Third, the truth of the cessation of suffering. It is possible to end this suffering by eliminating craving and attachment. And fourth, the truth of the path to the cessation of suffering. This is the Noble Eightfold Path, a practical guide to ethical conduct, mental discipline, and wisdom. After his enlightenment, the Buddha spent the next 45 years of his life walking across northern India, sharing his insights with anyone who would listen, from kings to beggars. He didn't teach a religion based on a god or divine revelation. Instead, he offered a practical and psychological method for uprooting suffering and finding lasting peace. Based on his own direct experience, he established a community of monks and nuns, the Sangha, to carry on his teachings. At the age of 80, having fulfilled his mission, Apa said to Hawaii, entering what is known as parinirvana, the final liberation. So, the story of the Buddha is not a myth. It's the story of a human being who confronted the fundamental problems of life head-on, and through his own effort, found a profound and timeless solution. His teachings on mindfulness, compassion, and wisdom continue to resonate powerfully today, offering a path to peace in our often chaotic world. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey today. If you found this story inspiring, please give this video a like. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next exploration into history's most fascinating figures. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, stay curious.